The gold standard bookshelf speaker, the B&W 805. We've seen many generations of it. Most recently, prior to this that is, the 805 D3, which really became an industry staple. But what happens when the gold standard needs to evolve? When the time comes to blossom into something newer and somehow better? Well, that's when we get the 805 D4. Now, at first glance, there's a lot of similarities between the D3 and D4, but you probably notice a few differences off the bat. But before we talk about all that, don't forget to subscribe to the Gramophone channel and click that bell icon down below, because we've got a lot of stuff like this coming up and I don't want to see you miss out on any of it. And here's your question of the day. What is your most favorite B&W loudspeaker of all time? Coming back are some famous representatives of the Bowers & Wilkins family, but they've been tweaked, modified, improved. Up top, the good old Nautilus Diamond Tweeter. We all remember this from the D3 and the D2. Literal diamond is what this tweeter is made out of. This tweeter has always been one of the most expressive, the most detailed, and the sharpest tweeters ever to grace the market. You will get insane amounts of detail for days out of this. Now, that does come at a bit of a cost of sometimes sounding a little bit bright or a little bit harsh, but I am happy to report that that overall has been tamed much more so versus the D3, and the entire package of the D4 is overall much more balanced. However, I did note that the tweeter overall did improve, and that's not only because of some tweaks to the dome itself, but notice the tube that it's loaded into. This is way bigger than what was on the D3 by about twice as much, and it is much better machined and finished as well. The other thing about this is that it is way better mounted than it was on the D3, and that's not a knock on the D3. The build quality of that speaker was sublime. However, there's been some other changes to this cabinet that support a much steadier tweeter tube, and so let's move on to that. You'll notice our good old-fashioned rose nut finish is back and looking better than ever, but the top of the speaker, other than the tweeter of course, is a little bit different. Now we've got this gorgeous dark leather wrapped around an aluminum top plate, and this is solid aluminum all the way through. And because of that, you can better mount the tweeter housing. And so the advantage is you get a stiffer cabinet, which is just downright better for all kinds of sound, and you get a more securely mounted tweeter, which is going to help better deal with distortion and, well, do exactly what we said it was doing earlier, and that is balance everything out. Check these new grills, by the way, how they're just so flush and clean. I love them. On the 805 D4, this probably looks very familiar as well. And for the most part, it is. Except in the D4, this mid-woofer, made famous by its D3 predecessor, is now mounted in a ring of aluminum that you can't see underneath this beautiful rose nut wood. Just like the aluminum top shelf, this aluminum structure underneath, again, further increases the rigidity of the cabinet, the overall solid construction of the speaker, and does a lot better job holding onto that woofer and keeping everything steady and in place. One carryover from the D3 that is very welcome and absolutely should have been done is the front port that you still see here on the D4. We've seen the front port for a little while now across a couple generations, and on a bookshelf speaker, I actually really like this. Sometimes we need to take our bookshelf and milk it for all that it's worth. And the front port on this is really helpful with the bass extension on this speaker. Since that energy is just coming straight at you, it seems more immediate and actually a little bit closer to how a sealed cabinet might sound, because it's going to be more in line, time-wise, with the woofer itself. As opposed to doing a rear port, which might multiply bass a little bit more, it will be so at the cost of being a little bit more delayed, if you will. Which in the case of the 805 here, makes for a pretty balanced experience. Strengths of the 805 across all generations, though again, magnified, or should I say maximized in the D4, is that these have a wonderful sense of image, a certain level of treble detail that is at least uncanny and at most really, really superlative. And they make a very, very good soundstage depth. Soundstage depth, I found, is a tricky thing to reproduce. And I don't find that a lot of speakers particularly do it well. But these are exceptional at it, and it's quickly become one of my favorite aspects of a speaker. If you want to pick up a pair of Bowers & Wilkins 805 D4s for yourself, make sure you visit Gramophone.com so you can get more information on the entire line of Bowers & Wilkins products, and definitely give us a call and schedule a time to come in and audition this awesome loudspeaker. You'll find Bowers & Wilkins products in all of our showrooms, Timonium, Columbia, and Gaithersburg, and this is the kind of product you really owe it to yourself to experience. And of course, while you're out, swing by our Kitchen Design Center in Hunt Valley, Maryland, because they'd love to help you with your next home improvement project, as their designs are out of this world. Hope that this was some useful information for you on your journey of searching for your next hi-fi loudspeaker. The D4 is a great choice. Don't forget to interact with me in the comments. I'd love to hear your questions, especially if you have some more specific ones about this loudspeaker. We're talking about some serious stuff here. And don't forget to answer the question of the day. Thank you so much for watching. Be seeing you.